What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the PDGA channel. So glad you're here. We are back after a 1-week hiatus. I was gone for NADGT Nationals, and so I didn't put out a video last week, but we're back. We are back this week, and we plan to stay back, keep on posting those videos every week. And today we're actually going to be talking about NADGT, a little recap, and why I'm probably not going to go back next year. It wasn't the greatest experience. There were a lot of issues with it that I want to cover here, so then you can understand what those issues were if you're thinking about potentially going in future years. Now, before we get into the issues I had with the tournament, I want to start off just by saying I did have a really fun time. My dad and I got to go together. All of my card mates were awesome. It was sweet meeting Robbie C in person finally after talking on Instagram for a while now. That part of the event was great. I loved that. The courses were really well maintained. That part of the tournament was great. I really appreciated all the work everyone put into it. The volunteers locally, the local clubs, course directors during the week. Those are not the things I'm upset about. Those parts of the tournament were awesome. But there were some other key parts that weren't great that I think need to be highlighted, and it's probably enough that I'm not gonna go back next year. The first big problem I had with this event was that there were a lot of promises that just weren't kept. There was a lot of hype going into this event of this being, the amateur event of the year. And a lot of these promises that were made just weren't kept during the event. A great example is the Players Pack. You've probably heard people who went to this event complaining about the Players Pack, but I think it's for good reason. They kept on saying before the event that this Players Pack was valued at somewhere between $350 and $400. And with us giving a $200 entry fee for this event, this seemed like a great deal. This seemed like something that we were really going to want to do. It's pretty weak. I do want to clarify, I also do have a bag coming, the FASA Skinny Bag 2.0. This retails at about $110. So that adds some to the Players Pack for sure. But it was just strange, different divisions got different Players Packs. Even within the same division, people were getting different things. And it just clearly wasn't worth the $350 to $400. 3 baseline plastic discs, a booklet about soil, some Xanthel, and just a lot of things I didn't need and weren't really worth that much money. So the Players Pack wasn't great, and what really bugs me about this more than anything is because this Players Pack was valued so high, there's so much hype going into it, there were so many players that said, hey, I can't make it out to the tournament, but I'm gonna stay signed up just so I can get the Players Pack. And this is what they're getting? They paid all this money not to even be able to go to the event to get this. It's an absolute ripoff. I feel so bad for those people that didn't even get to go and enjoy the event and just paid all that money just for this. Ridiculous. Failed promise. Another promise that they just did not keep was with food. We were promised breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day the tournament was going on. Breakfast was some crackers and fruit, so I guess you can call that breakfast. Lunch was these food trucks that came, if they came. Many broke down or didn't show up. Many left before people's tea times were over. And even if you did stick around, can you really call it lunch? One of the days, what was offered for the players was a corn dog. That's it. I heard other players talk about how all they had was one hot dog, that was their lunch. No drinks, no sides, nothing. My dad, one of the days, he got these super thin slices of pizza, 2 of those, and that was it. It's okay, we just played somewhere between 4 and 5 hour round of disc golf, and this is what we're having for lunch? If they even showed up, even if they sticked around for the later tea times. Failed promise. And then, end of the week, Saturday, there's supposed to be a players party at Live Oak Brewing. And I get there, and they're charging for parking. And I asked that guy, I'm like, there's a party for us, a party for the players, and you're charging us to get in. In our Players Pack was, the ticket for the party that said, all access. Obviously not all access because you gotta pay for parking. And so I just don't go. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay to park and wait in all these lines in a venue that can't host all these players. Like, Live Oak Brewing is great, but they can't host 1,300 people. It just is not feasible. And so they're charging us for parking for this event that's supposed to be for us. Super weird in my opinion, and just not thought out at all. And that was the only dinner offered for the players all week, was at the players party that you had to pay to get into. So I don't know what happened with all the other dinners besides the first night when we had our players meeting. So I'm not sure what's up there, but there were a lot of promises made. There was a lot of hype going into the event, and they did not meet those expectations at all. The other big grievance I had with this event was the format. I played in the MPO division, meaning I qualified in MA1 and they have us all playing MPO. That way if you place well enough, you can cash out and reclassify as professional. And that division was broken up into 3 different pools, A, B, and C. You know, the higher rated players in A, working all the way down to C, so I was in the C pool. I'm a pretty low rated advanced player, which would have been fine, except the first day was absurd amounts of wind. I was at the Met Center, which is very open. It was basically a constant 30-mile-per-hour wind going, and with gusts up to 50-mile-per-hour winds, because I was in the later tea time when the wind was the worst. And it honestly didn't feel playable. There were literally trees falling on the course from the wind. I threw my Heimberg Destroyer backhand and it turned into a roller. That's just kind of ridiculous. And so, as you can imagine, our scores were pretty poor. I shot a +20, which was 920 rated. Any other day, it would not be 920 rated on that course. But the thing is, to qualify for finals, it's about strokes. It's not about what your rating is. So sure, that +20 didn't kill my rating. You know, I shot 920. But when you have 20 strokes on the first day, there's no way you're gonna make finals. You know, A pool was at Roy G, which is a very wooded course, very protected from the wind, and, you know, super far apart from Met Center, because all these courses are spread out apart, so I'm sure the wind wasn't nearly as bad, and they're shooting good scores there. Belton is an hour away from Roy G, which is where Pool B was, and sure, it was windy there. I've heard that it was windy there, about 20-mile-per-hour winds, which is difficult, but it's not the same as 50-mile-per-hour gusts, and it's a little more covered than Met is. And so, sure, B didn't shoot amazing, but they're not shooting +20s. That's just not happening. And so, with this format, it made it nearly impossible for people in C pool who played later in the day. I'm not talking about the 8 a.m. tee time. The 8 a.m. tee time was fine at Met because the wind wasn't bad yet. Those who played the later tee times basically had zero chance to make finals because we were just grabbing so many strokes in that absurd weather we played in. And I think Robbie C said it best when he said what they should have done is they should have made the 3 pools equally distributed, and then the top 10% from each pool goes to finals. That way, the weather isn't going to greatly affect one pool over another. Every single pool has the same chance to make it to finals. I thought that would have been a great way to format the event, but they didn't, and so that's what we were left with. Another thing that was just kind of a ridiculous issue to have at a national tournament was they didn't have PDGA live set up appropriately the first day. You couldn't see any live stats from MPO, MA2, or MA3 on the first day. And that's because there were different pools and they labeled them all the same thing, A, B, and C. And because of that, the system couldn't handle it. They thought these pools were the same. And so there were no live stats the first day for any of these pools. Not setting up PDGA appropriately for a national event, kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Now the final issue I had with this event has to do with the pro shop. You may have heard people talking about this, and really it was not very good. The pro shop was, you know, about 5 tables of just these random discs. A couple of them had NADGT stamps on them, lots of them didn't. Your $20 voucher you got in your player's pack was only good for like half of the items there, which doesn't make sense. These discs were marked up way above retail, which is strange, and players could only use their script towards the pro shop with these limited options, overpriced items and only being able to pick from half of the limited options there. It was crazy. So I ended up using my $20 voucher for this hat. I do really like this hat and I'm glad that I was able to get it, but I would have liked to be able to get a disc that I wanted. All these people who got script probably would have liked to have better options. Initially, we were told that your script could either be taken to the Pro Shop or to Infinite Discs, but then they changed that and said it could only go towards the Pro Shop. Probably because no one was buying anything there because it was overpriced and there was limited options. Now before I finish, I want to reiterate, it was a fun trip. The courses were well maintained. The volunteers there were very friendly, they were very helpful. I had a great time playing with my dad. Overall, I really enjoyed the experience because of my card mates, because of the volunteers sacrificing, because of the well-maintained courses. But the actual NADGT staff, I don't think they did this tournament very well. I think they dropped the ball in a lot of areas. I think they overpromised and underdelivered. Worst combo ever. And because of that, I don't think I'm gonna go to NADGT Nationals next year. And I'm probably not gonna encourage other people to either. If you went to NADGT Nationals and you have a different take, I would love to hear it down below. Or if you think I missed something, let me know in the comments. If you didn't go and you're just hearing this for the first time, tell me what you think. Do you think these are reasons to not go to an event in the future? What can we do to get the NADGT staff to be better next year? As always, thank you so much for watching this week's video. I really appreciate you coming to hear what I have to say. If you liked it, please leave a like down below. If you haven't yet, subscribe. I have a giveaway going on right now on my Instagram page, so head there, check that out, and we'll see you next week.